So, Lawrence, you're new on the show. It's your privilege to kick us off. And what would you like to talk about in terms of all the news stuff we've been sharing with each other?
I mean, all the articles that have been shared are brilliant, but the one that's really caught my eye is the one that you shared, Mike, and it's talking about some intense interview questions that Google has had to stop asking candidates. And now the article that you shared from HR Grapevine talks specifically about 7 questions, but they are sort of lateral thinking riddles type questions that are meant to put candidates on the spot. I think to give listeners an idea of what we're talking about, the top question on a couple of articles that I've read is actually, they ask you why are manhole covers round?
Yeah, there we go.
Now, if you know the answer, it's simple. If they were square, then there are various angles where if you drop the manhole cover, it can fall all the way down the hole. But if it's round, it doesn't matter how you drop it, it'll never fall down the hole.
And, I mean, there are a number here that I thought were intriguing, but like the manhole cover, depends... I don't quite know in what context they were using them. So if you're interviewing for app developer at Google, and they could tell you whether the manhole cover would fall inside if it was square, what would that tell you?
Well, it's a sort of critical thinking puzzle, isn't it? And it's not something that people would typically know, but there's a definite answer. And so it encourages their candidates to show them an ability to analyse and think critically, constructively, creatively about a problem that they've been presented with. And that's what Google, I think, and many other companies are looking for from candidates, is people that can take a look at a situation that doesn't have an immediate answer and come up with the solution.
Well, here you go then, for all you listening, and for Joanna and Mark. You've got 2 eggs and access to a 100-storey building. Both eggs are identical. You need to figure out the highest floor of a 100-storey building that an egg can be dropped without breaking. The question is how many drops you need to make. You're allowed to break 2 eggs in the process. Now, it's all gone silent over there.
Can I ask you, what relevance has this got?
You see, Lawrence will tell us the relevance of it. I can give you the answer first. The answer from Google is, it's just too hard a question. Just make an omelette. It's about understanding if a task is too difficult and then thinking outside the box.
Yeah, you see, I'd got to the point in my reasonably mathematical head that you need more than 2 eggs, because you drop the first one from 50 floors, and if it breaks, you drop the next one from 25, and if it breaks, then you've used your 2 eggs. So, and if it doesn't break, the first one doesn't break, you drop the next one from 75 floors. But you can't do that, so yeah.
It's very difficult because my brain instantly goes
just make the omelette.
Yeah, but I remember seeing a science show where they showed you that if you throw an egg onto grass at an angle, you can throw it from some enormous height and it won't break. Yeah. So my response is, well, I don't have enough information to answer the question adequately.
But you see, what I think they're testing there is how do you deal with a situation where you don't have enough information? How do you deal with a situation where an overbearing boss is telling you to do something, and and I don't know if it's overbearing in an interview situation, pressure situation, how do you behave when you are presented with this difficult situation? In life and in work and in a job, you get thrown curveballs. You're busy doing what you're doing, and then something happens that makes you go, how do I deal with that? How do you deal with something that can't be dealt with? Because it's got to be dealt with. So I get that having what seems like a stupid question is not the question or the answer that's the point. It's the how you deal with it.
Again, it's all about making sure you've done your research before you go in and knowing a little bit about the culture and the ethos of the business.
Remember, this article is about the questions they have found they have to drop.
Yeah, which is good.
All this stuff you're saying would seem to have made sense when they justified asking these sort of questions, but they've changed. Elon Musk, apparently, it says that Elon Musk, obviously if you don't know, the founder of SpaceX and Tesla, historically he relied upon an abstract geographical question like, you're standing on the surface of the Earth, you walk 1 mile south, 1 mile west, 1 mile north, you end up where you started, where are you? Okay, but he doesn't do that anymore. He now queries candidates on how they've reacted to conundrums in their life. And he asks them, interviewees, to tell him the story of their life and the decisions they made along the way, which is a classic I think, better interview process, a behaviourally based interview process.
And when you think about, okay, well, if you work for Tesla, your job could be screwing a bolt on an engine, but they probably have a robot to do that. But you don't get an interview with Elon Musk if that's the kind of vacancy you're applying for.
Yeah.
If you get an interview with him personally, it's going to be, the job is going to be a problem-solving job, whether it's finance director and solving their quite interesting finance challenges, or marketing or sales or production or whatever. It's going to be about solving problems. So asking, tell me about a problem in your life and how you dealt with it, I see as massively valid, whether the problem was, social, personal, business, whatever.
It is valid to ask that. I think asking problem-solving questions is also useful, but I think the context is important. If I was going to be hiring someone to come and do app development, I'm not going to sit and say to them, why is a manhole cover round? Because that has no relevance, it has no context within the work that I'm doing. I might sit and say to them, here's a problem that we've identified within a business community. We've got our solution for it. What would your solution be? Okay. And I think that's a more applicable test of problem solving.
Well, to take those two examples, Lawrence, what I think Elon Musk would do now is say, have you ever faced a problem like the one we're facing? Tell us how you solved it, which is what did you do rather than what you think you would do. So let me just finish up this article off by saying I'll give you two questions. One I'll give you the answer to at the end, but the first one is design an evacuation plan for San Francisco, please.
Yeah, I was just looking at that on the screen here and thinking, now that's a really good question, depending on the job that you're applying for. But in terms of being able to think outside the box, and to think in terms of scale, and to come up with a range of different ideas which could then be tested and evaluated, what a brilliant question, I think.
And at the end here, where they give the answers, they say that this is more about the interviewer seeing how the interviewee would attack a problem. There's not really a set answer. And they expect the candidate to start by saying, what kind of disaster are we planning for?
Oh, good, yeah, that's great, yes.
Exploratory question. Now, the final question, which I will leave, and if you remind me, I'll give you the answer at the end of the show, is how many times a day do a clock's hands overlap? Think about that whilst I go back to some music here. Now, this is you, Joanna.